Hi everyone, welcome to the Young CFO Socratic Dialogue. Last Saturday we had a very interesting philosophy dialogue, but this time probably something which is less of a bouncer. Now we see a lot of startups. We say India has more than 100 unicorns, 1 billion valuation. Now what are these valuations? There are some people who say, no, they're not unicorns. They're not, they can't be valued at $1,000 million and so on. So what is this valuation business? Hopefully we can decode that today. And how can every employee contribute to the growth of the company? How can every employee add to that valuation is what we would discuss. So we have two teams of youngsters here who are going to take us through some very interesting ideas to improve the valuation of their company. So on this note, I'd like to request both the teams to go in with your introductions. Would one of you want to go in first?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Tushar Agarwal. I'm a leader at Deep Thought who's coming up with systems and processes to help people become more behaviorally and intellectually competent. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Tushar. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shagun, a developer at Deep Thought, trying to incorporate emotions into technology.
Yes. Thank you, Shagun. Where's your third member?
Yeah, he was having some connectivity issues.
Okay. Next team, would you want to go in?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Dinesh and I'm a team lead and growth hacker at Deep Thought. And now I'm from Team FinOps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Myself, Shawan. I'm a software developer at Deep Thought, just trying to develop technology that's scalable and is robust.
Yeah. Thank you, Shawan.
Hi everyone, I'm Artua and I'm a growth hacker and content writer at Deep Thought.
Yeah. Thank you, Artua. Nitin, would you want to go in with your introduction?
Hi guys, this is Nitin. I'm a growth product manager at Deep Thought, a visionary who is into transforming people for the society.
Okay. Thank you, Nitin. We'd like to request the jurors to go in with your introductions if one of you wants to go first. Yeah.
Sure, I'll go. Hey guys, I'm Ankur, co-founder at Elenops, which is an early stage startup incubator.
Yeah. Welcome, Ankur. Thank you for joining us. Who wants to go in next?
Hi guys, I'm Jiten sir. I'm the founder and head of Vernacular and regional based tech platform based in Bhubaneswar. We provide both IT as well as non-IT related to regional more as students.
Yeah. Thank you, Bibu Prasad. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoy the program today.
Sure.
If one of you wants to go in next. Ms. Mridula, if you want to go in next.
Yeah. Good evening. I am Dr. Mridula. I head Bal Bharat Academy, which is a part of Ramoji Group. And we impart life skills for students. And I'm delighted to be part of this group today.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks for inviting, Tarun.
Mr. Anand or Ms. Sri Lakshmi, if one of you wants to go in next.
Hi, this is Sri Lakshmi. Sorry, I can't do my video right now, but then this is, I am a group vice president for Medicover Group of Hospitals, and I'm delighted to be here and learn much more from Tarun. Thanks for inviting Tarun.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sri Lakshmi. Yeah. Mr. Anand, if you wish to go in.
Hi guys, sorry I will not be able to come on the video. I am traveling. So my name is Raja Anand. I head Trusty Micro Solutions. We are into training, placements, and we do special trainings for the government universities like Nalgonda University, Nalgonda Mahatma Gandhi University, and Palmur University. All the government universities in Telangana. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Anand. So,
thank you.
Yeah, Saurabh, would you want to go in with your introduction?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, hi everyone. This is Saurabh from Deep Thought. Currently, I'm playing a role as a growth hacker, but it is very dynamic. I don't know like what I'll do tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And hi everyone, this is Tarun. I'm your moderator for the day. So in case you do not like the dialogue today, you can conveniently blame me. So yeah, jokes apart, we have a very exciting topic, finance. So the question for discussion is, how are you going to implement all these ideas to drive the financial growth of the company, right? So which team wants to go in first? Okay, before that, we have a ritual which Aryan has sort of set out for all of us. One of our 7th graders, Aryan, set out this ritual by asking both the teams why they've named themselves so. So both the teams, would you want to state why you named yourself so?
Yes, we have named ourselves Team Damodaran because his lectures on risk management were the first financial concepts that we got exposed to that got us into the world of finance. So to honor him, we have named ourselves as Damodaran.
Team Ashwath Damodaran, okay. Yeah, Team FinOps, would you want to explain why you chose this name?
Yeah. Team FinOps is like short for finance in startups. And I think like we started by exploring finance in startups. And I think it is very dynamic and very, very crucial part for startups. It defines the future. So yeah, that's why.
Okay, looking forward to the future, Dinesh. Which team wants to go in first?
We'll go on first. Then.
Okay, Team Ashwath Damodaran, the floor is all yours. 1 minute for your quick pitch.
All right. So we all know like how crucial finance is in a startup because they drive the growth of any startup. And as leaders of startups, it's crucial for leaders to know how financial concepts work, right? So today we have chosen 5 concepts that we are going to discuss here. So one of them is time value of money. It's a concept that states that like the value of money is more in the future than it is now. To give you guys an example, let's say we have come up with a product, right, which can increase people's productivity with time, right? And okay, if we are spending our resources into a product at this moment, right, with time, when more people start to be efficient, it will increase their productivity, thereby accelerating the growth of an organization. Thereby, the value that we put into this product increases with time. So this is one of the concepts. Yeah.
Yes, and the other concept that we have is opportunity cost. So just to give an example and explain it, right? So we are joining in this event right now to explore this idea of finance. Instead of that, we could have, worked on our projects and stuff and produced some results. So at that point, since we are not producing those results, that's our opportunity cost, right? But by being able to learn these concepts of finance, we would be able to make better decisions to work against that opportunity cost in future. So, that's our idea of opportunity cost, right? So, yeah. And the other idea that we have is risk management, right? So another example, let me give you. So let's say that there's this one product that can help people become listen better, right? And another product which can help people become more efficient. So for a team to prioritize which project to work on first, the team might want to go ahead with the listening skills, the product that enhances the listening skill. While doing so, they're taking a risk of not working on the product that might increase the efficiency, right? So they're taking that risk for that moment. But if you look at it, if people's listening skills get better, then for longer term, it will be a higher return. There'll be higher return because people can then come up with their own ways of being efficient. Yeah. Right, Sakun, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. So another concept that we have is behavioral economics, in which we are influencing people to use more and more products. By when people use our more products, it will instinct their behaviors, and through their behaviors, will encourage them to be more into the future leadership and all.
Right. Let me give you an example for that. So let's say that there's a team that comes up with stories, right? And we share those stories to other people. So when other people read those stories, they would get to feel that, okay, there are those people who are getting those benefits. So why don't we go ahead and get those benefits as well? So that's the concept of behavioral economics that we have brought in, right? And the final one is rationality. So by making these decisions, we are trying to be rational in all the decisions that we take. So yeah, these are the 5 principles that we have come up with.
The questioning team comes in. What has stories got having behavioral economics?
Sorry, can you go through that again, Tarun?
Sharing stories is pure marketing, right? Why are you calling it behavioral economics?
Yes. Okay. So let's say that there's a person, right? So that person grew as a leader, right? By using this product of ours. So if we can share that story of that person, how they grew as a leader.
Behavioral economics.
It would nudge other people to try our product out as well. So when
marketing is supposed to nudge people, how is it?
Yes. Right. So when they are getting nudged, right, they would want to use our product. So we are getting more people into our community, right?
That I understand. How is it behavioral economics is my question.
Okay. Okay, we are influencing people's behavior, right? So when they see, like we are creating a FOMO, for example, let's say that there's one, sorry?
Marketing also creates FOMO. Marketing also influences behavior. Why are you calling it behavioral economics? I mean, at the moment, it just sounds like fancy words being thrown.
Yeah.
Or anybody from the team? Why are you calling it behavioral economics?
Means it is influencing. Means Tushar already told that.
People, any marketing activity influences people if it is successful.
But economics includes that idea of you selling things, buying things and stuff, right? So when you have this idea of behavior as well included, then you can see how those behaviors influence people's decision of buying products, of selling products.
Okay, so what are you doing about behaviors? You're just telling stories. Why are you calling?
Like when we share the success story of candidates, right, and like project them as a protagonist, people will be psychologically affected by it, right? They would want to feel themselves in their shoes, right? So they would want to try out our product in a way.
Not any good marketing does not showing the customer as a protagonist.
So if we are trying to project a person who is a student and a student is trying to project himself in that person, so his behavior got affected and
what any marketing does, you show somebody as a protagonist. Let's say I'm selling ClickUp project management software. I'll say, I mean, that ad, right? Monica is a star. Monica is using ClickUp, she's succeeding and so on. That's what any marketing does, right? Why are you calling it behavioral economics? You're showing someone as a protagonist. You're showing that that person is the winner. That's what any marketing campaign does, right? Why are you calling it behavioral economics?
A quick question. What is behavioral economics according to you guys?
Right. So in behavioral economics, right, we study people's behavior. So how they behave when they, let's say, look at our products.
What is the difference between behavioral science and behavioral economics? Studying people's behavior is behavioral science.
Okay. But again, here, the additional thing is, since, okay, there are consumers, right, who consume our product. So, that's where I guess economics comes in, right? So we see whether or not people are able to make those decisions as well or not, right? How those behaviors influence their decisions.
Okay. So now how is all of that coming into your marketing? I mean, how is your behavioral economics different from your marketing? This what you're telling me, right? Somebody's success story is straight marketing, right? Why are you calling it behavioral economics?
Okay. One speculation by creating that FOMO, right? We are influencing people's behavior. So, sure. Cannot marketing be studied with behavioral economics?
Okay. So what is the new thing you're doing by studying behavioral economics, which traditional marketing doesn't do? If you say FOMO, traditional marketing does create FOMO.
Like we are able to affect people. Yeah, go on, sure.
Aren't we studying the behavior of the people and how we can influence them? Yes, in marketing, we are just building the stories and trying to influence people.
By studying the behavior, what is that unique thing you're doing?
Like psychologically influencing people.
How?
Like knowing what their need is, like which content will attract its audience, like how will this person behave if we display this content.
Yeah. And to give another example, it doesn't just have to include those stories part and stuff, right? In behavioral economics, when another example, let's say that there's a community, right? There are 5 people. So we can create a leaderboard out of that and say that this person is, putting this much effort in their work, using this much of this product, and they are growing this much. So it nudges other people to use the product as well.
Okay.
So
in marketing, I'd say we are just trying to sell our product. But when we see, when we do that behavioral economics, we can try to nudge the people so that they will get value out of it. So they'll get more influence. If we
So now I shall open up the house for questions. But before that, I believe the time value of money concept was confused. But that's okay. Most MBAs also don't understand it. But the other three, I'm just question box. One of the ideas they came up with is opportunity cost. They said them attending this program and not doing their work is like an opportunity cost, which they'll have to offset with some sort of productivity somewhere. And the other idea is this behavioral economics, how they're leveraging this understanding of people's behaviors to drive the sales and drive the growth of the company. I think these are the 2 ideas we'll take up for discussion. So over to you, question box.
Okay. In opportunity cost, you say that like by attending this event, you're sacrificing on something else, right? How do you calculate what you're sacrificing?
So we all are having some deliverables to deliver. So as of now, we are spending our time in learning. So that this learning is opportunity for us. So we are not producing or we are not working right now, but we are sitting here discussing. So that is opportunity cost for us.
Okay, and to build up on that, what Sakun said, right? Let's say that instead of joining this event,
go back to the question box and then come back to you. Question box, you have a follow-up to that. Does that answer your question?
Somewhat. Like I did not get the clear idea of how you are like what are the metrics that you're using? One, okay, deliverables. It does.
No. Okay. So team question box, you're saying that answers your question?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think so, but you're going back to team answer box.
But how exactly are you using those deliverables to calculate the opportunity cost? What are you missing? What does that cost? What is it in monetary value?
Dinesh, looks like your teammate disagrees with you, and rightfully so. Yeah, back to team answer box. Yeah.
right. So let me give an example, right? So instead of joining this event, let's say that I was writing some stories, okay, that would publish on, let's say, LinkedIn. So I could have written 5, let's say, stories in that 1 hour. So had I published that 5 stories, let's say that 50 people might have seen and they might have, reached out to me to connect with me. And I might have gotten some, clients from that as well, right? Let's just say. So by not writing those stories, I'm, sacrificing that thing.
Sorry, let me stop you here. Team question box, does that answer your question?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Okay, why do you say so?
Okay, yeah, team question. Because you're giving me an example of how opportunity cost works. You're telling me that if you could write 5 stories, you could have 50 people. But much is your 5 stories worth? What is it in monetary value or in some currency value? What is it?
Your question. Okay, I'll stop you here. Team answer box here.
Right. So that 5 clients, 5 stories that you had written, let's say you got 50 clients, right? That 50 clients could have given you the monetary value. It's not that you want monetary value, you want those clients, right? Money would come later on. First, you want those clients in your company.
There are a lot of poetry except the answer.
Okay, so I want to give answer. So you, Tushar just told he is going to write that 5 stories. So if he's going to write those 5 stories, you're asking what is the value of those 5 stories? The value of those 5 stories will be the cost of student unicorn, because if we are will go and build our resources or make our resources to bring more students.
Sorry, a lot of jargon is being thrown, but I don't think you're answering the question.
Okay.
Like, to answer your question, right? In the past, you might have written 5 stories, right? And you have collected some data out of those 5 stories. You can refer to that data to understand what's the value that you have lost.
How?
What
Why
is the
like,
parameter that's being used?
but oh yeah, like that, I said now, like from the past you might have wrote 5 stories, right? And you have gained a value out of it.
What value?
But now,
Oh, what value and how do you determine that?
like for example, like in those 5 stories, right? If the engagement of those posts can be a value, can be a metric there, right?
How
So
do you
like that's the
how do you put a cost to that?
okay. Let's say like
Oh.
out of if let's say if my post has 100 engagement rate, and out of which there will be a one potential client, right? So the cost of one potential client is the value of those 100 engagements. That's how I would like calculate it.
Okay. Back to your question box.
So what are the exact parameters that you use to come to this calculation or whatever you calculated and
The
conclusion?
parameters, yeah, the parameters are the engagement rates and how many, like for like how many clients are being converted for this many engagement rate. Those were the parameters. Does it make sense?
Yes, but if we now do not take the example and we want general parameters that can be applicable for any metric, not just stories, what would those general parameters be?
Like it's subjective, right? I mean, when it comes to stories and marketing, this can be the parameter. If you can give an example, I can come up with a parameter for that.
Means it depends on the work that we do. Means as a developer, as a story writer. So based on that, those parameter we can decide and we can identify the cost.
Right. But again, adding to that, just the core things that you would want to look at is whether or not it's increasing your revenue, right? Whether or not it's cutting down your cost on the things that you are doing. So those would be the general things you would want to look for, and we can come up with specific parameters for those.
So if you want that generalization in that sense, whatever work we are doing, we can just think how it is adding that value to the organization. So based on that, we can set our parameters.
Okay. So in the interest of time, I want to conclude this first round. I'm opening all the breakout rooms so that the jurors could do the scoring. Saurav, I request you to move to the jury room to assist the jurors with scoring.
Yeah.
The teams, please stay here. We request all the jurors to move to the breakout room so Saurav could help you with the scoring process.
Yeah.
Okay, reflections team, while the jurors move and score, any reflections that you guys have?
I think I really love the way how Nitin started with his pitch and how you guys connected it to this Socratic dialogue.
Okay, any observations you made so far in this dialogue? Yeah, Shawan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, rather than reflection, I had one question. Like as Tushar you mentioned, right? Like you chose opportunity B over A, right? So you came here to this dialogue. So I mean, I was just curious to know, to understand, like how are you going to drive revenues, right? Like you chose B, but how you are going to use this opportunity to gain revenue? I don't know if it makes sense, but still,
Okay.
I was just curious to ask.
So I'll tell you example. So as a person, as a contributor in Deep Thought, we are here like discussing around this financial. So this is opportunity for us. So moving forward, back then when we didn't know about this concept, so anyhow it will affect our work. Means we don't know, so we don't have any concept regarding this. So we were working in some different ways. Now we got this opportunity. We are discussing around the finances. Now we somehow understand the concept of finances. So moving forward, we can think around those finances in whatever terms that we are contributing.
Okay. I mean, finances is a bigger term. So can you give me specifics, right? Like,
Okay, so wait, guys. I think one big feedback for you guys is you can be a lot more specific, and I think a little more homework is needed on the fundamentals. Time value of money was horribly misunderstood. Time value of money is, whatever 100 rupees you have today, it's worth much more in the future. So when you're building a product, you'd want that product to bring in a lot of scale because you're not building that revenue today, you're going to build it later. So, but I thought the way it was handled was a little problematic. And coming to how you would calculate the opportunity cost, what you could do is you could arrive at a notional cost for each one of them, right? So like each article, would you want to put a notional cost that one article is worth 500 rupees or 1000 rupees or 2000 rupees or something? Put a notional cost of how much you would value that article. And that could be a way in which you would arrive at that cost. Or you put a notional cost around how much is that person's 1 hour worth. And that again is an opportunity, a way for you to calculate, whatever that opportunity cost the organization is bearing, right? So these are some ways of in which you can calculate the opportunity cost. I mean, to cut the long story short, notional cost. You put, it's very difficult to quantify, which is why you just put up some numbers, right? So according to me, one story is worth this much, or according to me, 100 lines of front-end code is worth this much, 20 lines of back-end code is worth this much, or this much of debugging is worth this much. So you could put up some notional costs and arrive at the valuation accordingly, right? The value of the work. Once you know the value of the work, you can always arrive at it. Now, as far as Shawan, your question is concerned, if people are, they already answered in the beginning, if people are able to engage in better decision making at the end of it, that's the benefit, right? So if you're able to prioritize features by understanding how it will lead to future revenues and so on, that could probably offset the opportunity cost. Better feature decisions or better business decisions. Okay, so I think the jurors back from scoring. We'd love to have your questions for team Ashwatthamathran.
So there are not many questions to ask, but I'll ask very simple questions. That the people talk about behavioral economics. Okay, it's a very deep concept. But I'm glad that you people have given some of your thoughts, valuable thoughts, and what really nice. But still, there is certain conceptual clarity. I have a simple question: that does this behavioral economics depend upon the need of the market or the need of the people? Is it relevant? Does it have any kind of relationship in between them? Or it's totally independent parameter? Market is separate, the customer, the consumers are separate, and behavioral economics is totally separate. What do you think, guys? Anyone of you can? Did you understand what I said? Okay, my question is that behavioral economics, okay, it's a very deep concept, fine. Does it have any kind of, interrelevance with market or the customer or the consumer, or simply it is independent parameter?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. B. Prasad. Team answer box, would you want to take that?
Yes, like I would say that behavioral economics is somewhat related to marketing, because in marketing, when you come up.
Okay, hold on a sec. I'm not sure if you got the question. The question is not whether it's connected to marketing. The question is does it have any connection with the market or the consumer where you're operating? Did I get that right, Mr. B. Prasad?
It is actually, the need of the consumer. Need.
Sorry?
Does behavioral economics related to the need of the consumer or the need of the market? Need.
Okay. Does behavioral economics have any connection with the needs of the market or consumers, or are they two different discussions?
Exactly. Yeah, please, you may answer.
I would say, means when we study the behavior economics, then definitely we are going to study the need of consumers. Based on that, we are going to build upon those product and make sure the product.
Can you first answer yes or no? Are they connected, not connected?
Yes.
Why?
Because in behavioral economics, we drive the person's decision making, right? So like most of them take decisions based on their needs, right? So that's how it's connected with the needs of the consumer.
Can you be able to give me one example? I mean, practical, real-time example how it is interconnected, the need of the market or the consumer and behavioral.
Okay, so let's say there is this candidate who's not feeling psychologically safe to share his or her opinions. All right, that's a need that he is having right now. All right, he wants to feel psychologically safe so that he can share his opinions and ideas more freely with others. Right, that's a need, right? Able to express your ideas to others. So let's say we create a product that will help them with that. They help them satisfy their need, right? Let's say we have a product that will help people like celebrate failures in a way, like help people like know that you will not be judged if you are wrong, right? So their need is being satisfied, and they take this decision because their need is being satisfied, right? So that's how we like make them take this psychological decision based on their need. Does that make sense?
Well, Mr. Nitin, you have given one, statement, but I need one real-time example. I mean, something that has happened.
Isn't that a real-time example?
I mean, I want to know certain examples which has happened in the market. I mean, which has really happened. Some classic example, like let's say we have market.
But isn't that a fantastic example? I mean,
yeah, that is of course,
psychological safety and building a product for psychological safety.
Yeah, that is of course, I understood. But I want some bit of
Let's not use words like better, but if you have any specific industry where you want an example, I think you can ask them, right?
Because it is very much relevant to finance industry also, fintech companies. I mean, which has happened in the past. Everybody knows it. Okay. I'll let you guys know.
Please, let's not drag the discussion down to what you want to hear. If you have any question, you can ask the question, right? Let's not relegate it to what you want to hear, right? A question.
I get it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you guys give one more example? I mean, cite one more example.
One more example, yeah. Nitin, thank you for a brilliant example. We'd love to hear one more example.
Okay, to give you another example, right? Let's say there's this mother who is so tired of like washing the dirt off the cloth, right? She's like sweating like hell. She's spending all most of her time like trying to make the uniform clean for her children, right? So that's a need that she has. She needs the cloth to get cleaned up as soon as possible, right? So if you like represent an ad where the dirt is like cleared within seconds, right? So that might like increase their need and make them like psychologically affect them to buy your product. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's relevant. Yeah. So you want to say something?
No, means I agreed with Nitin's point.
Okay, that's great. So can I ask one more question?
Sure, Bibu, please go ahead.
Okay. So my next question is regarding risk management. Okay. So it's a common question. When the startup starts, any venture, I mean, the guys team up and then they have the idea and they just want to have to implement and that in real time they execute their plan. So do you think the risk, at that point of time is very high at the ideation stage, or it is quite high during the product, implementation stage, or it is quite high, at the later stage when you have already entered into the market. So at what point of time the risk is too high, and how do you handle that? Did you guys got my question? Did you guys get my question? What is it?
So if I'll articulate it, means you just told 3 stages: ideation, implementation, and when you are going to launch the product. And on these 3 stages, at which stage the risk could be high.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say when we are ideating a product, that risk would be high because you are unknown about those concepts and you don't know what you're going to bring in. And you are putting all your resources into that ideation and to bring up research and all. And you're not sure how this research will give you result. So in that ideation stage, risk would be high. Once your ideation, definitely when you are researching, you will do that research on user experience, and there are lots of factors that will be involved. So after that, while implementation, that risk would be somewhat reduced because you know what your outcome would be. And when you're launching, it's all about how your consumers will see your product. Means not see, adopt your product.
So, Tarun, do you agree or you want contradicts?
No, I mean, if you have a follow-up question, please go.
Okay. I had to contradict a little bit, Sarun. Thing is that it is the reverse call. As far as my knowledge is concerned, practical experience is concerned, it is the reverse call. Ideation, it is fine, quite high. Okay. You have certain, thought process in your mind, and you just want to build up a new thing, starting from the scratch itself. But as soon as you try to implement it, there are many unforeseen cases, okay? External parameters or maybe circumstances, markets that will come definitely on your path, okay? One issue will be this finance management, the team management, and the product delivery part. All these things will create definitely hindrances, okay? And the constant money flow to your company, that will also create another problem, okay? So the risk factor actually increases.
Okay.
Yeah, Shagun, please go ahead.
Yeah, so agreed means that when you are implementing, your risk is high. But don't you think when you have an idea and when you start ideating on that product, you will analyze that product and do all your research before building that product? So if you spend 2 months on ideating that product, so it's the risk that how you are going to implement that outcome is clear or not. That you means it's like you are going to waste or utilize those 2 months. It's not in your hand. Means you are not sure your 2 months would be wasted or it will be utilized.
Shagun, sorry to stop you here, but I believe the problem is the word risk is being used very loosely here, right? So if you were to define risk, I mean, in terms of what is the probability of you getting, probability of you generating those revenues, right? So at an ideation stage, the probability of you generating revenues is quite low. You've not yet proved your ability to make money as a business. Product stage, you probably have a slightly better probability because only when you have a product, you can generate revenue. In ideation stage, you don't even have a product, but in the second stage, you probably have a product. So the probability of creating revenues is higher. And when you take it into the market again, there you sort of have some data in terms of how the market is reacting to it. So there's a little more validation. So perhaps the probability of generating revenues slightly goes up, which is why you see that the valuations also kind of increase as you proceed forward, right? And if you look at it, seed investors also call themselves high risk investors because there's this notion that at an idea stage the risk is higher, and you're investing to share the risk along with the entrepreneur. I mean, that's traditionally what I've heard from the community as well, and even with an academic notion of risk that seems to set in. So.
Yeah, definitely. I agree to Tarun's point also. Thing is that in ideation stage, sometimes what happens, you may not have, predicted so many things, and that will come up in a way, okay? And these are all sudden things, okay? These are unpredicted things that will come up on your way, and you all have to deal with it, right? Idea to the product, the prototype stage, then the product, formation stage, then to the market. the final test of the product actually comes to existence when after the consumer utilize it and they give their kind of reaction, okay, for sort of acceptance, market acceptance is okay. Then after only you can get to analyze all the things. But I could say once you land up in the market, the competition rises, okay, and there may be so many competitors. You come up with a product, maybe a little bit different, but somehow there are competitors existing in the market. So you have to compete with them in real time basis, right? And how come the consumers, those who are purchasing your product, whether they're accepting your product or not, they're directly rejecting it, okay? And all these things will tell about the risk that you're taking up. And
Bibu Prasad, I mean, I think this is against the spirit of dialogue. Let's keep our questions and answers short. So
that's actually all from my end. So I have finished 2 questions. These are all from my end. So I just want to.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bibu Prasad. If one of the jurors has a question, would love to hear your question. If any of the other jurors have a question, we'd love to. Yeah, please go ahead.
I actually have a question. So this goes back to opportunity costs. Okay. So it's pretty easy to gauge opportunity costs when you have one job that gives you $50 and one job that gives you $60, right? But with startups, with most companies, everything comes with a bit of risk, right? And my question comes down to risk management when it comes to opportunity cost, when the expected results are very similar. So for example, you could have 3 lanes, right? One is 50% chance to earn 100 rupees, 25% chance to earn 200 rupees, and maybe 1% chance to earn 10,000 rupees or whatever the same expected outcome is, right? In these 3, of course, if you're a gambler, you personally might take the 1% chance, but as a company, how do you decide the best outcome? And what if the 1% chance is slightly better than the 25% chance, right? Not 100 times better, but what if it's 10% better outcomes than 50% chance? How do you decide how much risk you want to take?
Okay, I would like to make one point, and then my teammates can add. So I think it depends upon your stage or upon your situation with startup, right? So if you are trying to survive, then you would not want to go with the one where there's high risk, right? So you do not want to go ahead with that cost. So I think that's the factor that we want to consider, whether or not we are trying to survive or sustain, like grow. So.
Got it. Thank you. I actually have another question, but this is a little outside the bounds of the discussion set by Tarun earlier. The first point mentioned by Nitin this time was about the fact that the value of money goes up in the future, or money is worth more in the future than it is now. And I know it's outside the bounds of this, Tarun, so stop me, but I just wanted to understand that because I frankly do not understand it.
So Ankur, I believe that Nitin slightly confused it, which is why I kept it out of the dialogue. But yeah, so I think what he was trying to articulate is 100 rupees today is not the same as 100 rupees 1 year later. The value of money increases with time, in the sense that if I'm comparing 100 rupees today with 100 rupees tomorrow, I would believe that 100 rupees today is more than 100 rupees in the future, which is the basis of the DCF method, right, for calculating valuation of companies. So you take your interest rate, and through the interest rate, you find out what will be the value of this money going forward into the future. So if you're investing 100 rupees into creating a product today, you would want to realize a much higher, value out of it in the future, because it may be 100 rupees today, but if you have to look at it 5 years into the future with a 10% interest rate, you're probably wanting to get 170 rupees or something like that, because the 100 rupees today might be worth something around 170 tomorrow. So if you're into a more short-term business where you invest today and realize today, the pressure may not be as high. But if you're into a business which takes several years of R&D, you might want to operate at a scale so that the scale can offset the fact that the value of the money has gone up in those 5 years. I think that's what he was trying to convey, how scale can offset the demand for that money's value, can offset the fact that the money's value grows with time.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. So we'd like to request the jurors to move to the breakout room. So the second round to be scored. You could click on the breakout rooms icon and that will open the list of breakout rooms. Any reflections?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier, when they were talking about those 3 stages, right? Ideation, product, and market stage. So you made the point that at ideation, we have high risk, and at market stage, we might have low risk. Now, let's say that you are going for for fundings, right? So you want money. So if you go with an idea, not a product, right? You will have high risk that you will be presenting. So you might get high interest. Okay. So that's risky to go with ideation because you will get high interest. But if you go with, let's say, at market stage, when you have the product and you need funding for marketing, right? There's low risk at that point. So you can get low interest. But again, for the product to be developed, you would need some funding, right? So like, doesn't it, create some complexities?
So yeah, absolutely. So until you have proven revenues, forget about when the product is ready. Even when the product is ready, the risk is still high. Until the customer is willing to pay money for it, the risk is still high. But yeah, so one thing is there are investors who come in at an early stage. But what is recommended to most startups is you start with something which doesn't need much funding. Start with something which doesn't need much funding, release it into the market, generate some revenues. So you would have proven your credibility, your ability to operate in that market, your ability to generate some revenues in that market. So then some investor might actually be interested in funding you. So this is the Eric Ries's lean startup philosophy, right? So in a lean startup mode, you make the MVP, the minimum viable product. You realize some revenues out of that MVP, and then you show that to the investor to get the next tranche of funding. To get the first tranche of funding. Then again, you prove something, and then you go back for the next tranche of funding. You prove something, go back for the next tranche of funding. So that way you're decreasing the risk, getting more capital, decreasing the risk, getting more capital. And this is how startups have different rounds of funding, right? Seed round, pre-series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, and then finally probably go for an IPO and so on. So across the startup life cycle, you try to decrease the risk and you try to go for the next round of funding.
So you said decrease the risk, right? So does it mean at the start of a startup, there's always high risk?
That is what most startup founders and investors say, unless somebody has some eccentric ideas. Yeah, but most people say that the risk is higher at the beginning. There could be other schools of thought. But in general, the idea is the risk is a lot higher in the beginning because you don't have anything to substantiate that you are going to generate some revenues. When you have a product, I can believe, okay, you have something through which I can guess whether you'll make revenue or not. You've gone into the market, you have your reactions. I have slightly better evidence to sort of conclude whether you'll succeed or you'll not succeed. You already started making some money. I just have to extrapolate the numbers, see how much marketing budgets you'll need, how much revenues you'll do. So with that, I can do the math in terms of what your valuation could be. But you don't have anything, you just have an idea. I don't know how you will execute. I don't know how the market will react. I don't know if you even have a product. There are a lot of questions with no answers. There'll still be a lot of questions with no answers as you go forward, but at least the foundation is set once your product is clear and once your customer definition is clear and once people have decided to pay you for that product. Okay, so in the interest of time, we'll accelerate this a bit. So Team FinOps, would you want to go in with your pitch?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. We've come up with some ideas based on finance principles to drive financial growth. Time value of money. As a company, we could ask clients to pay us in shares in case they cannot afford to pay us in cash or liquid money. Marginal utility. To keep encouraging people and giving a different perspective each time, we introduce learning drills and workshops, making sure the amount of workshops and drills is the optimal amount to increase employee efficiency. Opportunity cost. Can we have a system where we can calculate the cost even before involving the company? We have a threefold structure: spotting, evaluation, and analysis. Evaluation of the company, evaluation of the opportunity cost has four parameters: time, emotions, hidden costs, and external resources. If deep thought involves with a project and has to pay a price for that opportunity, the price that will be paid can be calculated through this process and making a decision accordingly. Based on behavioral economics, we can build trust and interest in clients. We go for a different approach rather than a normal pitch setup, where we go problem, solution, and impact pattern. Deep Thought also plans to publish research papers of a technology to use them as impact stories that can build trust. Under CSR, with a varied experience in education, Deep Thought aims to teach youngsters with several concepts and drills. This can help us get future student unicorns. For risk, Deep Thought has introduced some parameters in risk calculation so as to avoid unnecessary financial losses. These parameters are running small parameter tests with clients, overview of the project, and leadership structure in the client companies.
Okay, Dinesh, sorry to stop you here. I believe it's against the spirit of Deep Thought to read out from your slides. I can communicate much better than that. And also, I believe a lot of jargon has been used without context. But yeah, I'll probably not stop you here. Team Damodaran, team question box, do you have some questions for him around this?
Can you elaborate on the marginal utility point, please?
Yes, same question.
Sure. So for marginal utility, let's say there's a candidate or there's an employee who's constantly doing work. Now, marginal utility is the concept where what extra benefit am I getting for doing an extra amount of work? So we're introducing workshops and drills where the extra benefit is the workshop and drill, but in an optimal amount so that these workshops are not every day, but every alternative day so that they know that when they're working, the extra benefit is the learning drills in the workshop. Does that answer the question?
Team question box, you have a follow-up question.
Right. So you said that the workshops that you do after a certain period of time, right? So that they don't get bored or something. But even if you're doing after a certain period of time, it's a constant process.
Sorry, I think this is going on a tangent. So I'm not sure if the concept of marginal utility was even understood. The concept of marginal utility is what is that extra utility I get by consuming that extra unit, right? So I don't see how that's connected to what you're speaking. Team FinOps, do you have an answer to that? Okay, I'll take that back. Team question box, do you have a question regarding any of their other ideas? Because I believe they didn't understand this concept.
Okay, how could you ensure that sharing shares would be that time value of money means? What was the concept that means how you will ensure your example with that concept, connect your example with that concept?
Yeah, how are you connecting your example with time value of money?
Yes.
So the idea was that instead of if let's say there's a client that cannot pay us in cash, we can instead ask for equity, right? And the idea is like assuming that the company would do well, client would do well, the value of what we have invested would eventually increase. Did I answer your question?
So who is client here?
Client as in client for deep thought, anyone like who wants to hire youngsters and
So if you will like just spare your equity to the client's means, isn't
no
it a good
we
idea?
Shagun, I'm not sure if you understood. What he's saying is, if there's a client who cannot pay you in cash, you ask the client to give you equity, and that's how.
Acha, client will give me equity. Okay. Yeah, got it.
But how are you connecting this to time value of money?
it
Value of shares increase with time, increase or decrease are depending upon the profit or loss. But generally, if there's a profit, the value of shares of the company increase with time.
Is it connected to time value of money?
so if we can, if like if you're assuming that the company our client would do well eventually, right? Their valuation would go up. The amount of what we have invested would increase with time, right? The value of what we have invested would increase with time.
Is that connected to time value of money? Time value of money just talks of that the value of money is different at different points of time. So how is your argument got anything to do with that? It says your 100 rupees today is not same as 100 rupees 5 years later, not same as 100 rupees say 3 years before. How is your shares and all of this got anything to do with time value of money?
So the value of the share would as well change, right?
That has nothing to do with time value of money, right? Or there is a connection, but how are you connecting it?
So basically, shares of a company would mean that it has the monetary money is not same 1 year later. The share value also changes, and hence the money that we're getting in return also changes.
You can't say share value will increase. The share value could be a zero as well if they're shut down.
Assuming they're in profit.
Now, how is this connected with time value of money? That's not clear. Okay, I hope this is both the teams confuse time value of money. And as I said, well, most people don't get it. I mean, many startup founders themselves don't know it. So that's okay. But what I'm saying is probably it's time to not consider finance to be common sense. Finance needs some study. Finance needs some time to be spent on the fundamentals. I hope the dialogue awakens everyone to go and study the fundamentals, because a lot of times we think that we'll get away with common sense, but that's not true. But Dinesh, I think where you could bring time value of money here is to say that if your client is paying you in cash today, what is the worth of that cash 5 years into the future? What will be the worth of the shares 5 years into the future? So would you be better off taking the cash today, or would you be better off taking the shares today? You can use time value of money to compare both the options. Because you're probably going to liquidate the shares only in the future. So if you're liquidating the shares in the future, one option's value is known in the future, one option's value is known today. So when you have two options with value known today and in the future, you'll probably need time value of money to standardize them and then compare. But time value of money does not say money grows with time. Time value of money is a mechanism for you to understand what is the value of money at each point of time. What I value 100 rupees today might be worth 150 rupees in the future, might be worth 90 rupees in the past. It's that relative way of valuing, looking at the value of money. But it does not say money grows with time, money grows in the future. I mean, that's probably what both the teams seem to have understood. So in the interest of time, we'll cut the fourth round and would love to hear your thoughts, Ankur and Vibhu, and any suggestions you have for everyone.
Sure, yeah. Just in general, the way I like to study for these things is I would recommend never reading off anything. If you want notes, just have skeleton bullet points written down and just use them as key points to refresh your memory and just speak from the heart. That's just one thing I wanted to call out. But I had one question actually. You mentioned marginal utility, Team FinOps. What do you mean by that? Can you explain with a short example?
Okay. Taking an example, let's say you like chocolates, right? When you eat that first chocolate, the value you get out of it, like let's consider it is 100, right? The second chocolate may be 100. The third chocolate you eat, maybe the value for you might be lesser, right? Or it might change. So that's, yeah.
Why does that matter in finance?
So I think let's say you if you like two different things, right? And you would want to like make a decision, right? Let's say you even like fruits, but maybe they are a little bit more expensive. But after you eat those three chocolates, the value you might get out of fruits would be higher. So you might go for buying that fruit since you're yielding much more value than chocolate.
Ankur, I think what he's trying to say is that although you might value a chocolate higher than a fruit, once you've consumed enough chocolates, that extra utility you're getting out of a chocolate dips. So at that point, you might probably weigh a fruit more than chocolate. So probably this is what he's trying to say.
Got it.
Vibhu, if you have pointers to add.
No, it's okay.
Thank you everyone for joining us. It was an interesting discussion. So this was an attempt to get all the younger members of different startups interested in finance to discuss finance. And we also had a few discussions on what is it that you could do to increase the valuation of your company. And we hope to do this once a month so that all the younger members understand how their work is going to impact the growth of the company. And I do believe all of us are going back home with some questions. And generally in our colleges, we tend to not respect the textbook as much, but I hope this questioning would invite us to go back to the textbook and understand the concepts. Confidence is good, but displaced confidence can be problematic. So I hope dialogues can humble us, and I hope dialogues can get us back to the fundamentals of looking at examples of understanding the definitions and so on. And we thank Ankur and Vibhu for joining us. All your questions, I'm sure, is a lot of food for thought for the younger members here. This is just an attempt to get the young folks of different startups. The people of 10 other startups who are following this live on YouTube. There's another Zoom link where there are another 60 guys in breakout rooms of 4 members, 5 members, who are listening to this and having an internal discussion of what they have to say. It's like they're having a Socratic dialogue on this Socratic dialogue. We call that a meta-Socratic dialogue.
That's great.
To think about finance. Yeah. Sure. Thank you, everyone. This brings us to the conclusion of this program.